Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I post this video up to Facebook and Patreon and all that sort of good stuff. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka, done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international, all over the world. They have 40,000 therapists working with them. All you have to do is go onto BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez and fill out a questionnaire, and they will place you with a licensed professional master's level or PhD level therapist in your state or that can do international. So thank you, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay. Diving into everything. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. For those of you that don't mind celebrating Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day. For those of you that are having a hard time with Mother's Day, I feel ya. Today is a day for self-care. Today is a day to write and burn, journal, get it out of your head, get it onto paper, and then take super, super good care of yourself. Because not all of us had good moms. Not all of us had good dads. And sometimes Mother's Day and Father's Day, they're really hard on people. So just gentle with you. You have the right to feel how you feel. So there that is. Okay, so current events. Well, a couple of things. I want to thank everybody that came to Raleigh, North Carolina yesterday. That was awesome. Good seeing you guys. The next appearances are going to be Richmond, Virginia on June 22nd, Washington, D.C., July 20th, York, Pennsylvania, August 5th, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, August 10th, and then Nashville, Tennessee, August 17th. So I hope to see you guys there. I posted up the dates on Facebook so you can see them and get your tickets and all that sort of good stuff. Tickets are available on chrisgodinez.com under appearances. So there that is. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you. Okay. Current event. So one of you guys sent me an article on this interesting case out of South Carolina. So this South Carolina woman, Micah Miller, her death was ruled a suicide. However, there has been so many hinky things around the spouse. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. So a waitress has come out and said that he had texted her inappropriate things. There was, he's making accusations now that she was possibly bipolar. He said she had episodes, it kind of setting it up. It just, something doesn't sound right. They've been separated since 2023, but the behavior is not what you would expect from somebody who just lost somebody they were married to. So not saying that he's guilty. I'm not saying he did it. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting to keep your eyes on that. And if you read through some of the articles, some of the statements made don't sound like a grieving spouse or even a grieving human being. So check it out. It's interesting. Somebody sent it to me and said, hey, you might want to look into this. So anyway, there it is. And of course, he's saying, oh, she was mentally ill. She had all these episodes around Christmas and would spend too much. So he's trying to describe like bipolar, but I'm like, well, was there a diagnosis? Was she on medication? Something also too that came out is before she died, she had said that he had groomed her since she was 10 years old. And she married him, I think, when she was 18 or something like that. So anyway, interesting case out of South Carolina. So, it's another probably domestic weirdness situation. And it goes on a lot more than people are willing to take a look at. And I do think grooming is something that people need to be aware of. It's like narcissists, they're not necessarily pedophiles, but they definitely like to be able to control. And so that can be a grooming behavior, is like, working, the love bombing is a grooming behavior, but they do tend to like younger spouses that are more easily manipulated. So something to look at. I think that's something to throw into the red flags. So anyway, there that is. Okay, so there was that. Talked about the appearances. Okay, let's dive into perfectionism. Why? Why do so many of us who have been raised by narcissists or who have been in an abusive relationship, why do we have that perfectionism? So, perfectionism is this way of thinking, and it causes us analysis paralysis. So everything has to be perfect. It has to be done perfectly. It has to be the right way. It can't be done this way. It has to be done perfectly. So it analysis paralysis and perfectionism is definitely a flea. It's a flea that we've gotten from being involved in an abusive relationship or being involved with uh, a narcissistic family. So specifically, if you've got a narcissistic mom or dad, they would always tell you it's never good enough. It's never good enough. It's not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. So then we as kids start doing the whole, okay, it has to be perfect. I have to do this right. I have to do this. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to be yelled at. I don't want to be criticized. I don't want to be made fun of. I don't want to be put down. I don't want to. And so we start living with this magical thinking that if everything is perfect, mom or dad are going to either accept me or at the very least not criticize me. So we do this whole twisting ourselves into a pretzel and everything has to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, what we tend to do is we tend to analyze it to death. So we'll be like, well, but no, this needs to be better. Well, no, this needs to be better. Well, I can't do this until I get this done. I can't clean the kitchen until I do the bathroom. I can't clean, it's like we literally drive ourselves insane. We really do. And so we paralyze ourselves. And so we've got this unrealistic perfectionistic idea of how we are or how we should be. Okay, should be, shoulda, coulda, woulda, which is nothing but shoulding all over yourself. So we have this idea of how we should be, right? And we'll never meet it. And so we don't ever do what we need to be doing because it's not good enough, but I need to be doing this. But then we make ourselves wrong for not getting to the kitchen because we didn't clean the bathroom perfectly. So it's this really maladaptive way of trying to stay safe, which is really not safe at all. But to our inner child, it's how we stayed safe when we had all the criticism going on, or the not good enough, or the making fun of, or the whatever. So it's really, really, really important to recognize when you're doing the perfectionism stuff. So perfectionism is a trauma response. So we do it for a couple of reasons. One, so we can avoid being criticized by the abuser, or two, we don't engage in something unless it's perfect. So it's avoidance. So it's another form of avoidance, so that again, we're not disappointed, we don't get put down, we don't get made fun of, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really, really not healthy. So I pulled up a couple of articles on Psychology Today. This one is called just Perfectionism. So you just type in perfectionism, Psychology Today, this pops up. So perfectionism is a trait that makes an endless report card on accomplishments or looks. Now, when healthy, it can be self-motivating and drive you to overcome adversity and achieve success. When unhealthy, when it is toxic, when it is dysfunctional, it can be a fast and enduring track to unhappiness. So perfectionism is born of the abuser constantly telling us not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, us trying to figure out a way to stay not criticized, right? And it then becomes this snake feeding on its own body. It's a never ending loop. So it's like we can never step out of that to just be good enough. So, and that's the key, is getting rid of all of the perfectionism. Is it's going to drive you crazy, but you're going to have to live with good enough. Okay. So the toxic part of it is when it becomes this analysis paralysis. We can't move on because we got shoulda, coulda, woulda going on. Okay. So shoulda, coulda, woulda. Carl Rogers called shoulda, coulda, woulda is a mental mind bleep. Okay. It's literally a way to just mess with your mind. And it's a way to make yourself feel terrible. So in the beginning, the perfectionism helped us stay safe, but as it mutated, okay, and it became this analysis paralysis, and I can't move on until it's perfect, and I can't do this, it needs to be perfect, and I can't do that because it needs to be perfect, and then we stuck doing nothing, and then we make ourselves wrong for doing nothing. Okay, it's like it's a no-win situation. It is literally a Kobayashi Maru. You cannot win this. So what's the cheat? What's the Shatner way out? So, speaking of narcissists, what is the way out of that? So, okay, first of all, let's what causes perfectionism? All right. Perfectionism is driven by internal pressures, such as the desire to avoid failure or harsh criticism. There is likely a social component as well, because perfectionistic tendencies have increased substantially among young people over the past 30 years, regardless of gender or culture. Greater academic and professional competition is thought to play a role, along with the pervasive presence of social media and harmful social comparisons. So that is all connected to narcissism. Narcissists are constantly in competition with other people all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. Perfectionism is almost like a competition, but it's like, well, who are you competing against? Nobody cares if you clean your kitchen, really, honestly, So, but it's this internal drive to be, I've got to be perfect. I've got to meet this unrealistic goal that the narcissist set. Now, why has it increased in the last 30 years? Well, social media has increased in the last 30 years. And as I have said in the past, narcissism and personality disorders in general were underreported. So if you read like the DSM-5, they'll say, oh, it's 9% of the population. I'm calling bull tinky. It's closer to 40. So, it's just, Lord. Anyway, so perfectionists set an unrealistic high expectation for themselves and for others. They are quick to find fault and are overly critical of mistakes. They tend to procrastinate on a project out of the fear of failure. So procrastination is the flip side of being perfect. It's the same coin. So when we don't have control over anything, which we don't when we're in a narcissistic family or an abusive relationship, the one thing we have control over is whether we do something or not. So procrastination and waiting until critical mass is a very common trait among survivors, as well as perfectionism. And you can have both procrastination and perfectionism going on. Those are both trauma responses. It's, again, a way, maladaptive, to get control over a situation or over a thing that's happening or over something you have to do. So with both of those, what's the payoff? You're going to have a serious chat with your inner child workbook, Catherine Taylor, self-esteem workbook, Glenn Schiraldi, CPTSD, From Surviving to Thriving, Pete Walker. You're going to have a chat with what is driving that. It's the inner child. Okay, inner child, what's the payoff? What are you getting out of this? How is this helping? How is this honest to God helping? And a lot of times the inner child is going to sit there and look at you and go, I don't know. And that's when you're going to have to be like, look, dragging our feet and procrastinating, yes, you have control, 100%. This is also not helping. Why? Well, the abuser is no longer around. So who are you hurting by dragging your feet? You're dragging your feet with adult me. Stop. I don't want that. You don't want that. Let's figure out a way for you to feel safe and you to feel heard so that we can get things done, and not drag our feet, because we don't have to. We have control. You have control. I have control. So again, it's working with that inner child. So inner child needs control because they didn't have control. And so procrastinating was a way to gain control. Perfectionism is a way to gain control. So again, okay, little one, how is this helping? Because we're driving ourselves insane with the bathroom, but we really want to be doing the kitchen. So what is that about? What's the payoff? Well, the payoff is you get to beat yourself up and feel terrible. Ooh, yuck. That doesn't sound like fun. Why are we doing that? Let's do something different. You know what? Let's play with good enough. Doesn't have to be perfect, just good enough. Middle path. Middle path. So, and that's going to be really hard to pry your inner child's fingers off of the perfectionism because that's what kept them safe. Okay. But it's not keeping them safe now. But they can't quite see that. So, shoulda, coulda, woulda is part of that. Well, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I could be doing that. I would be doing that. It's a way to beat ourselves up. So, it's almost as if we have internalized the abuser, and now that internal voice, that internal critic, is saying and doing everything that the abuser would have done. Well, it's not good enough. Well, it needs to be faster. Well, it needs to be better. It needs, well, you should do this and you should do that and you could do this and you would do this and write that inner critic a go bleep yourself letter. Dear inner critic, bleep the bleepity bleep bleep out of bleeping bleep you. I'm sick and tired of your BS, perfectionism, procrastinationism, shoulds, coulds, woulds. I'm not going to should all over myself anymore. Kindly go pound sand. Have a nice day. And when I say have a nice day, I mean, please evict yourself from my head. You're done. You're done. I'm done. I'm done with you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. And kick it out. And when it pops up, wow, fascinating thought, inner critic. Guess what? I don't have to be perfect. Why? Because I say so. I am the boss of these thoughts. These thoughts are not the boss of me. I get to be good enough. Period. Exclamation point. You know what I'm saying? So it's really doing a lot of changing what you are thinking, how you are thinking it, what you are saying to yourself, how you're saying it to yourself, and really keying in that perfectionism, that procrastination, that, shoulda, coulda, woulda. This is all a trauma response, and this is your internalized abuser. You don't have to listen to that anymore. They have no business being in there. You're evicted. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Why? Why do I say that? Because I am the boss, and I get to have the cheerleader in my head. Good enough. Good enough. Middle path. Good enough. Do it now. It'll be perfect, but it's good enough. Do you see where I'm going with that? So that's how you start working on that. So mirror work like a boss. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. You know what? We're going to get rid of coulda, shoulda, woulda. You know why? Because I'm done shooting all over myself. I'm done. Don't need to do it anymore. Inner child, do you hear me? You don't need to do that anymore to you either. Middle path is okay. It's okay. We're going to be good enough. Not perfect. Nope. Not perfect. Don't need to procrastinate. Good enough. And that's what you start aiming for. Now, the inner child in you is going to freak out. I'm going to warn you about that right now. It's going to be like, but, no, 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 no. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Yeah, because it's a new behavior and they're freaking out. So you just comfort them. You know what? This is uncomfortable. I don't like it. I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm not used to this. And because it's an and world, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try something new because this old way no longer works. It really doesn't. Keeps us stuck. And it makes us not like ourselves. And that's not okay. It's okay to like ourselves. We don't need the coulda, shoulda, wouldas to make us feel bad. We don't need to drag our feet and make ourselves crazy on a deadline. We don't need to do that anymore. We don't need to. That's bye-bye. That's not healthy. That's not who we are anymore. We are completely different from who we were when we were with the abuser. So that's what you work on in the mirror work, giving yourself permission. It's okay to grow. It's okay to change. It's okay to do things differently. It's okay to talk to yourself differently and just kind, gentle. You know what I'm saying? It's like encouragement. So, okay. So back to the perfectionism. Okay. 3 different kinds. There's self-oriented perfectionism, imposing unrealistic desire to be perfect on oneself. Other-oriented perfectionism, meaning imposing unrealistic standards on others. And socially prescribed perfectionism involves perceiving unrealistic expectation of perfection from others. So, yeah. Is it a mental illness? I think it is a trauma response, 100%. Dangers of being perfect. Perfectionism is an abstraction, an impossibility in reality. When taken too far, the striving for perfection could lead to negative outcomes like procrastination, a tendency to avoid challenges, rigid, all or nothing. Well, it wasn't perfect, so I'm just not going to do it, right? All or nothing, good, bad, black, white. Toxic comparisons, but this person on YouTube is so amazing and they're perfect. No, they're not. I can guarantee you your favorite Hollywood star takes a dump and belches. Guarantee it. And it probably doesn't smell very good. Okay, rigid thinking, maladaptive. Maladaptive perfectionism is often driven by the fear of failure, feelings of unworthiness, and low self-esteem and adverse childhood experiences. It is very frequently accompanied by depression, anxiety, OCD, eating disorders, and even suicidal impulses. So, can it be good for you? In moderation. In moderation, you know? So, when I was having my house remodeled, I was talking to the interior designer and she was like, well, I want this perfect for you. And I said, well, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. She's like, no, I understand where you're going. But in this case, for me, I want it perfect for you. And I was like, okay, I dig it. Still doesn't need to be perfect, just good enough. It's fine with me, whatever. So you know what I'm saying? So it depends on the situation and if it's temporary. So if you do it for your work, well, this has to be perfect. Well, obviously, if you're an astronaut, your stuff has to be perfect or you're going to die, right? So, I mean, I can understand that. But in everyday things, no, it does not need to be perfect. Good enough. Just good enough. Just good enough. And then, of course, the abuser will pop in and go, oh, well, that's mediocre. No, it's not. It's good enough. Mediocre means you didn't even bother. Good enough means you did your best. It's good enough. You're done. There you go. So that's what I want you to work on. Okay, so that was the first article. So letting go of comparison is huge in letting go of perfectionism. So where is this need to be perfect coming from? Who are you comparing yourself against? How old are you in that moment when you're being hard on yourself? Who do you sound like? I know for me, sometimes my dad, good God, well, when I'm stressed out sometimes, he will come flying out of my mouth and I'll be like, what the mother frick just happened? I need a two priest, a young priest, an old priest. I'd like to get that exercise. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just, it'll happen. So you got to let go of comparison. You got to let go of acting out your abuse. You've got to let go of the things that no longer serve you. So watch your self-talk. Use compassionate self-talk. Challenge the negative self-judgments. And it's really important that you can still be a good person and not be perfect. Does that make sense? Good enough. You want to aim for good enough. So let me get to the next article called How to Overcome Perfectionism. So continuing with this. Okay, is your perfectionism helping you or hurting you? So we talked a little bit about that. So if it's helping you, okay, great. That's great. But if it's hurting you and it's stopping you from doing things, or you're getting analysis paralysis because you're analyzing it, now it's hurting you. So that's when you have to be like, okay, what am I getting out of this? What's the payoff? How old am I when I'm doing this? And then you comfort that inner child, you work on your self-esteem, you do the mirror work, you do all of that stuff. Some clients have told me that they are proud of their perfectionism. They wear it like a badge of honor. But who did they learn that from? 9 times out of 10, it's the abuser. It is. So you want to really make sure where all of this stuff is coming from. It's going to involve a lot of self-awareness. It's going to involve a lot of mindfulness, journaling it out. You know, where did this come from? Why am I prideful of this thing that's really driving me crazy, right? So it's okay to be good. It's okay to be good enough. You don't want to aim for perfection. Aim for good enough. So figure out where you got that from. If you're secretly proud of it, but it's this pride and perfectionism is defeating you, do you really make progress? Does it make sense to be proud of driving you crazy and making you miserable? No, it doesn't. So you might want to have a little chat about that. And in some cases, what I will do is I will have my clients write a goodbye letter to their perfectionism. And boy, they have a really hard time saying goodbye to it sometimes. Why? Well, sometimes the perfectionism is a link to the parent, to the spouse, to whatever, and it feels final to say goodbye. And of course, in a narcissistic family, we talked about this last week, in a narcissistic relationship, are they good with death and goodbye and things like that? No, they're not. So they don't teach their kids how to deal with grief. So letting go is grieving. It is. It really, it's the death of how you used to be, but the welcoming of who you are now. So it's that old saying, when God closes a door somewhere, he opens a window. It's the same thing. It's like you're letting go of the old you that no longer works, the behaviors that no longer support you. And you're doing the behaviors that do support you. So it's like a death and a birth all at the same time. And it's a little freaky and it's a little weird, and it takes us out of our comfort zone. And the inner children are going to be freaking out. You comfort them. What do they need? Do you ever talk to them? Do you ever ask them, what do you need? You should. Hi, inner children. What do you need? How can I comfort you? What will help you with this growth period that we are going through? Be gentle and kind. Those little ones are there because you're the adult and you're protecting them, and you get to practice being a good parent on yourself, which is what you needed when you were little, but you didn't have. So now you get to do it as an adult. So that's really what I want you to work on. Okay. There is a difference between perfectionism and having healthy, high standards. The difference is that high standards can be achieved. Perfection, perfect, has to be perfect. Nope, that's not realistic. The goals have to be realistic, within reach, trying to improve yourself without burdening you with the impossible. So you want to work on always improving, always doing better, but not the impossible, Like, for example, it's like so many men and women get this unrealistic, goal from Hollywood of, oh, you have to have a body that's like, Thor from the Avengers or Scarlett Johansson from the Avengers or whatever. And it's like, guys, the average person is not ever going to be looking like a supermodel, male or female, because we don't have 6 hours a day to go work out. We also don't have a personal chef to make us food. We also don't have, a nutritionist to tell us what to eat, or you see where I'm going with that? So taking care of your body, good enough. Exercising, good enough. You don't have to look like Thor. You don't. But we get these unrealistic expectations. And I've literally had people with eating disorders that will be like, but I see this in the social media. I see this in the media. I see this on movies and TVs. And I want to look like that. Well, that's great. I think we all do. However, unless you're a trust fund baby and you don't have to work and all you have to do is work out every day, you're not going to get there, because that's what it takes. These guys literally work out 6 hours a day. It's redonkulous. So anyway, that's what I'm saying. Realistic goals, healthy, just be a healthy weight. Okay. So for me, I'm 5'6", 5'7", and a healthy weight for me would be anywhere from 150 to 180. That's what I want to aim for. When I was working in Hollywood, they wanted me down to 100 pounds. That's never going to happen unless I was doing insane amounts of some sort of amphetamine. You know what I'm saying? So you aim for what's healthy. You don't go for the extremes. Okay. So what's healthy? What is going to support your body? What is going to support your mind? What is going to support your soul? That's what you want. Aim for the middle path. Good enough. Good enough. So there that is. Okay. Everyone is imperfect. Everyone makes mistakes. And this article, I forgot to say, this article is by Robert Leahy, PhD, How to Overcome Perfectionism. So everyone makes mistakes. And if you ask someone who is a perfectionist, tell me about the people you know. Tell me about the people you like. What mistakes have they made? Successful people always make mistakes. It's, Lord have mercy, I've made mistakes. It's like you learn from them. That's how we learn. So making mistakes is, the way to look at it this way is, how do babies learn how to walk? By making a lot of mistakes. They kind of stand up and they toddle along, and then they fall down, and then they go, oh, let me try it this way. And then they'll try it a little differently. And then they eventually learn how to get balance and walk. If you never allow a baby to learn from their mistakes, they won't learn balance. They won't learn how to walk. They won't learn how to do things on their own. So it's interesting how, again, the narcissist is hobbling us with this perfectionism. Even though they're not here, even though they're gone or they're dead or whatever, that inner critic is hobbling us just like the abuser did. Something to work on. You don't need to be hobbled. You can embrace your own power and who you are, because that's what the abuser was trying to shut down, is because that's why they were so threatened by you, because you shine. You have a light, okay? And they don't like light. They like the dark because they're evil. So do you see where I'm going with that? So you've got to allow yourself to make mistakes. It's a part of how we learn. When things don't go right, you just kind of go, well, that did not turn out the way I wanted it to. What could I do differently next time? Oh, I know. And then you do something different next time. Free of judgment. We are so hard on ourselves. Honest to God. I remember when I was with Ruth Hornaday when I was 16. She was my counselor back then. And she was like, oh my God, Chris, you are just brutal on yourself. And I'm like, well, yeah, because if I'm horrible to me, maybe he'll leave me alone. Mistaken thought, mistaken beliefs, little kid thinking, you know what I'm saying, even though I was 16. So that's what we do, is that we are brutal on ourselves, and we're brutal sometimes on other people. So it's really important. Get rid of that judgment. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. It does not serve us. It does not work. It's not reality. Let it go. Hold yourself to a high standard for sure. But the judgment, the nastiness, the criticalness, the harshness, no, 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 no. You treat yourself the way you should have been spoken to as a child. Kind, compassionate, gentle, and encouraging. That's what you want. So aim for that. Okay, so back to this article. You don't have to regret mistakes. You can learn from them. That's the second part. Very true. So keep in mind that making progress, not perfection, holds true in all areas of your life. So depression is often characterized by the intolerance of what is real about all of us, that we are imperfect, but improvable. So there is really, it's kind of like I tell people, it's like anxiety is living in what if, okay? Depression is living in the past and then having a whole bunch of regrets. Can't change the past, right? So it's kind of like you got to live with what is and accept that you're human. You're going to make mistakes. As long as you're not intentionally making the same mistake over and over and over again, hello, narcissist, then you're okay. Do you see where I'm going with that? So narcissists make mistakes all the time. They just never apologize for them. And if they do apologize for them, they go and do them again because they weren't really sorry in the first place. For us, when we make mistakes, we learn from them and we figure out how to do it differently. And we make amends when we need to. So live in the what is. Live in the here and the now, not in the distant future. What if, not in the distant past. It's gone, it's done. Can't fix it, can't change it. All we can do is change our thoughts right here, right now. So with perfectionism, you want to get rid of the coulda, shoulda, woulda, the procrastination, the harsh, mean, critical judgment, all of those things. So get the Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor or the one by Lucia Cappuccioni, okay? Get the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. Get CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. Write the perfectionism a goodbye letter or a firing letter. Dear perfectionism, you're fired. Your performance sucks. I'm not paying you anymore. Goodbye, Or dear perfectionism, you kept me safe when I was a little kid. Super appreciate it. It's not working now. I'm going to have to say goodbye to you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Go pound sand. You're out of my head. And you're going to have to be mindful about what is the inner critic saying. How harsh, how mean, what is it saying? When it does the has to be perfect, has to be perfect, has to be perfect. No, it doesn't. No, good enough. Middle path. Good enough. And it's going to take action as well as all of this mental work. So say, for example, you're in the middle of cleaning and you can't let go of the bathroom, pry your little fingers off the bathroom, force yourself to go into the kitchen and start. It's going to be very uncomfortable, but you comfort your inner kids as you go. Okay, guys, we're moving into the kitchen. Yes, I know the bathroom is not done perfectly. I know it. It's okay. It's okay. We're going to move on to the kitchen. It's okay. Do you see where I'm going with that? You got to comfort those inner children. All right, let's jump into the questions. Okay. Does a narc parent and a narc child compete with each other? Oh, yeah. The narc parent, regardless of whether it's a narcissist child or not, the narcissist parent is always, always in competition with the children. Always. Just the weirdest, weirdest. I've seen things where an adult child will announce that they're getting married, and all of a sudden the narc parent decides that they're getting married first. I kid you not. It's like everything is a competition for them. They refuse to not be in competition. So everything is a competition. Everything is a competition. So hold on, let me get to the second part of that question. I've seen a narc mom and a narc daughter try to outdo each other and even try to hurt each other. Yes, absolutely. So narcissistic parents of either sex, either gender, are in competition with their kids. So I've seen narcissistic moms be in competition with their daughters. So, for example, they'll try to act like the daughter, they'll try to flirt with the boyfriends, they'll try to hang out with the friends. It's this weird competition thing. And I've seen them also where they're like, oh, I often get mistaken for her sister rather than her mother. And it's like, okay, that's great, but weird. All right, whatever. So there is this huge competition between the parent and the child, whether the child is a narcissist or not. So the narcissistic parent's mindset is very crazy, number one. But number two, it's like they simultaneously want the kid to do well so they can hold the kid up and go, see, look what I did. This kid is successful because of me. Flip side of that is they get very jealous and very angry if that kid does better than them. So if that kid starts getting a lot of attention, starts, doing well, getting accolades, etc., and even though they're doing the whole yes it's me, there's still this burning, how dare they do better than I am? How dare they, And so they're very jealous. You're dealing, again, I cannot emphasize this enough. When you are dealing with a narcissist, like a real narcissist, you are dealing with somebody who is on the emotional level of anywhere between an 18-month-old and a 2-year-old. That's it. That is it. They are not cognitively there. There is no there. A healthy, normal parent is thrilled for their kid. Literally. Like, I am so proud of you. You did this all on your own. You did great. So a lot of times when I have clients and they're like, oh my God, my life has changed. You've helped me so much, blah, 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 which is great. And I tell them, it's like, okay, yes, I helped you. And I want you to see you did it. You did the work. You did this. All I did was hand you the tools and show you how to use them, but you built the house. So that's what a good parent does. A good parent gives the kid the tools, emotional tools, for how to deal with the world, right? Teaches them how to use it and when to use a hammer and when to use a screwdriver and when to use a plier and when to, and then the kid goes out and builds a house, and then the parent should be standing there cheering them on. Good job. You're doing a great job. This is fantastic. Look what you did. This is awesome. As opposed to, oh, well, yes, my child, because I did this and I did that. You know what I'm saying? So they either take credit for what the kid is doing, or they get incredibly jealous. Oh, well, I can build a better house than that. I could use those tools better. It's not about you. Do you see where I'm going with that? So yes, they are in this weird, everything's a competition. I have to be the best, or I have to be able to take credit for what this child has done, as opposed to, yes, I'm very proud of my child, but it's all them. They're the ones who did the work. They're the ones who went to school or did this or built that or, explored this, or do you see where I'm going with that? So yeah, narcissists, whether they are a narcissistic child or not, are always in competition with the kid. Always. With mothers, with narcissistic moms, there's usually a sexual component to it. They will hit on boyfriends. They will hit on, friends. They will try to be that age. They will, very immature. With the dad, from my experience, what my dad would do is he would be the one that would take all of the credit. Well, yeah, she did this, but I was the one. And then we're all looking at him going, I'm who I am in spite of you, not because of you. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's just really, they're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So anyway, there is that. Okay, next week, I think I want to talk more about red flags, because I've had several cases recently where people had the red flags flying in their face and they just kind of didn't notice them. So I want to talk more about the red flags. I want to talk more about, what to do when you feel yourself slipping into denial, because it's no bueno. So anyway, we're going to talk about red flags and denial. So that will be next week. All right, you guys have a great week, and hopefully I will see you guys in Richmond, and I will answer whatever questions I did not get to, and I'll talk to you next Sunday. All right, have a great day. Bye.